There is a dangerous paradox at the heart of true strength. Miyamoto Musashi, the undefeated warrior, taught that the most lethal fighter was not the strongest in brute strength, nor the fastest in movement. He was the one where the distinction between mind and body had ceased to exist, where the sword and the swordsman were no longer two. The absence of separation is the most feared level of mastery. The modern wound is division. We live in a constant state of internal war. The body yearns to act while the mind resists and calculates. The mind plans the future while the body trembles in the present, unable to inhabit the now. This war between who we are and what we do drains vital energy, leaving us exhausted and reactive. This fragmentation is the root of weakness that no amount of physical training can cure. But the ancient mystery is ready to be revealed. Zen masters like Hakuin discovered that enlightenment lay not in transcending the body or escaping matter, but in completely unifying it with consciousness, finding peace not above, in the heaven of ideas, but here and now, in the earth of the body. Inattention is an abyss. On one side, there is the man who trains his muscles without cultivating his mind, becoming a purposeless reaction machine. On the other, there is the man who meditates on peace without ever moving his body toward action, remaining a theorist of wisdom. Only when these opposing forces become one can the most dangerous force emerge, the unbreakable serenity, the stability that is felt before it is seen. We are not talking about simple coordination, but about a profound alchemy, where spirit merges with matter. Preparing the ground is the first step toward renunciation. The sword and the swordsman are no longer two. When this illusory separation disappears, the cut occurs before the thought of cutting, transforming man into a force of nature. If this quest for unification resonates in your soul, silence the external noise for a moment and prepare to begin the journey that will transform your war into dance. Why does a modern man, often stronger and more educated than his ancestors, still feel fundamentally weak? The hidden pain is the wound of inner division. Muscles may be strong, they may impress, but they fail at the decisive moment when the mind hesitates, when doubt settles in the fissure that should be action. The cost of this fragmentation is powerlessness. Every second between wanting and doing is a fissure where fear, doubt, and paralysis take hold, stealing your gift and your energy. It's a constant leak of the soul. Body anxiety, it's the corrosive feeling of being trapped in a body that doesn't obey its essence, and in a mind that won't quiet. It's a disconnect that generates a silent and devastating impotence. Your greatest battle isn't with the outside world, but with the inability of your rider and horse to move as one. Musashi was clear, and his clarity is merciless. In a duel, the divided man is already dead. The hesitation of a single breath is an eternity for a sword that does not hesitate. The invisible error of modern culture is the acceptance of unilateral force, separating physical training from mental cultivation. We create strong bodies with fragile minds, or calm minds with neglected and reactive bodies. The trap of specialization holds you back. The person who trains only the body becomes reactive and predictable, reacting to the environment. The person who trains only the mind becomes theoretical, incapable of acting under pressure. The contemporary paradox is that the more technology promises convenience and ease, the more man loses this primitive and instinctive integration between intention and movement, regressing to the condition of being eternally reagent. Tokugawa Ieyasu, master of strategic patience, knew that patience is not mental paralysis. It is the body waiting while the mind watches, both ready to move like lightning, without internal tension. The bow without an arrow is useless. The arrow without a bow is impotent. Dangerous force emerges only when the tension of the bow and the direction of the arrow become indistinguishable, when the mind and body move as a single force. Unification is not a destination. It is a process of abandoning the false self. The philosophical principle that reverses the logic of suffering is the awareness that true strength lies in fusion, not in the struggle for control. It is the surrender of the body to become the mind in action. A first door is embodied consciousness. It is not enough to know about the body. It must inhabit it. Instead of the mind trying to control the body from the outside, the mind must gradually become the body. Thought is no longer an abstract concept floating above the head, but emerges from the cells and bones, from wisdom visceral of being. The samurai trained zazen, not to escape the body, but to feel every muscle fiber, every breath, every heartbeat as an event of total consciousness. The neuroscience of interoception validates this ancient practice. When consciousness maps the body internally, the nervous system integrates information that was previously unconscious, dissolving the distance between the observer and the observed. The door to being opens in the Zen question. When you breathe, who breathes? When you walk, who walks? In the answer lies unification, the recognition that you are the action, not the separate actor. The second stage is the second door, eliminating psychological time. Psychological time is the treacherous interval between decision and action, the space where the ego inserts itself to deliberate, doubt, and paralyze. Dissolving this interval is essential. Power resides in instantaneous action, which is not thoughtless, but direct Musashi, when facing Kojiro, didn't have the "I'm going to attack now" moment. The attack and the moment were one. When there is no separate I deliberating, the body responds directly to the moment, without the mental filter of fear. It is the practice of responding to stimuli without the intermediary stage of thought, of eliminating the mental intermediary that robs speed and precision. The unified warrior is lightning. He doesn't decide to strike, he simply connects heaven and earth when conditions align. The unified warrior simply acts, in the totality of the moment. If this wisdom resonates with you, sign up. Here, each reflection is a pause to breathe amidst the noise, an opportunity for unification, where mind meets body in the silence of the present. The path of the enlightened warrior is not linear. It is a deep and constant transformation through overcoming the deepest and most subtle barriers of the ego. A third door is the death of the reactive self. This is the discipline of transcending the ego that reacts defensively to every event or external criticism. When there is no self to defend, fear loses its object and its power. Dangerous force that we seek does not protect the ego. It dissolves it. What does not exist cannot be harmed, and it is this liberating paradox that marks true strength. Hakuin's wisdom, Inkoan, what was your original face before your parents were born? Points to the identity that precedes the construction of the separate mind and body. It is the psychology of detachment in its purest form. When we stop identifying with fleeting thoughts and sensations, we remain the still center, even under extreme stress. The mirror does not suffer from the ugly images it reflects. It remains clean because it does not confuse itself with its reflection. You are not your reactions. A fourth door, it is Fudoshin, the stillness that moves mountains. Fudoshin should not be confused with physical rigidity, but rather is a center so deep in the soul that no external storm can reach it. It is the body in explosive movement, but the mind remains calm as a lake at dawn. Emotion arises, inevitably, but does not command action, does not hijack decision. Thought appears, but does not paralyze movement. The story of Tokugawa Ieyasu is a beacon. Surrounded by traitors, he remained serene, not because he was not afraid, but because fear did not control his decision. The unified warrior is the eye of a typhoon. The storm swirls violently around, but the center remains quiet and unshakable, the source of stability. A fifth door is Mushin, the mindless mind, Mushin no Shin. This is the pinnacle of unification, the state where there is no separate observer of the action, where the I do becomes just doing happens. The dangerous force reaches its peak because, without the ego's deliberation, nothing can anticipate or counteract pure action. Musashi described this state in his Book of Emptiness. There is no I that writes nor you that reads. There is only conscious emptiness that manifests effortlessly. Elite athletes call it the state of flow, where the I disappeared, there was only the game. The dancer disappears in the dance. The warrior disappears in combat. The sage disappears in life. What remains is pure, ownerless force, the manifestation of totality. The sixth lesson, it's the alchemy of unified training. This is the practical method for solidifying the 5 doors, combining physical training with mental presence, making each repetition a ritual. Each breath is a portal to the present. The modernized samurai protocol demands slow, conscious movement, until every fiber is felt, before accelerating. You don't count repetitions. You inhabit each movement. Iron doesn't become a sword with a hammer blow. It transforms through 1,000 conscious blows that align every molecule. Your entire life must become a practice of unification. The unification of being has an inevitable external consequence, a weight that cannot be disguised. The 7th lesson, it's the silent danger, when others feel but don't understand. The unified man emanates a presence that intimidates without the need to threaten, that commands without needing to speak, and that conquers without openly fighting. Others unconsciously perceive the absence of fear, hesitation, and doubt. The primal instinct recognizes the superior stability, the mass that cannot be moved. Its strength is dangerous not because of its violence, but because of its imperturbability. The man who cannot be shaken dismantles the strategies of manipulation, intimidation, and control of others. Musashi remained undefeated in 60 duels, not only because of physical skill, but because his opponents sensed the unification they lacked, and that hesitation was a luxury he would not grant them. The mountain does not threaten. It simply is. But all who see it feel their smallness before a mass that does not move. This path leads to 8th lesson, the transcendent turn, strength revealed, not conquered. The dangerous strength you manifest was not something you added to your being. It was always there, just obscured by fragmentation. The ultimate paradox is that the more we try to be strong, the more we weaken through tension and ego. When we stop trying and simply become, strength emerges naturally, revealed. Musashi eliminated ego through duels. Tokugawa cultivated a strategic patience that no one could rush. Hakuin dissolved separation through koans. The unified man does not worry about being strong or weak. He simply responds to the moment with the totality of his being. If this philosophy resonates with you, subscribe and ring the bell. Here, each video is a conscious pause in the chaos, a portal to the unification you've always sought. The sword and the swordsman are not two. This is the synthesis. When this truth is understood viscerally, dangerous force reveals itself not as something you did, but as something you allowed. The journey of the 5 doors was the dissolution of your illusion of separation. Embodied consciousness, elimination of psychological time, death of the reactive self, Fudoshin, Mushin. The unified man has achieved nothing. He has simply stopped fighting himself. In this cessation of internal war, true strength emerges. Unification is not a static state. It is a moment-by-moment practice of remembering that separation was never real. The masters didn't teach how to be strong. They taught how to stop being weak by dividing against oneself. When the inner war ceases, the outer presence becomes unshakable, not by adding artifices, but by revealing its essence. Peace doesn't come when the world falls silent. It comes when you learn to listen to the silence. Walk slowly, and the world will adapt to your pace. Subscribe and comment below. I am the silence that acts. This shows that you belong to this brotherhood of conscious men.